Peace, Israel. Today's date is July the 9th, 2016. Uh, and as usual, I would like to start this lesson with a verse that I always like to start the lessons with, and that would be Psalms 119, 142. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Now, there's been some situations or some instances here and incidents that's occurred in this nation, and it's also occurring worldwide, that we have seen time and time again, as far as the injustices towards our people. We have tried all types of methods. We've tried protesting, we've tried boycotts, we've tried integration, we've tried assimilation. Uh, we have done all that we possibly could to make peace with those among us, and yet it doesn't work. And that's simply because iron and clay cannot mix. We are in the land of our enemies, and that is going to be made plain to us one way or another. We will understand that we are not to mix with the heathen. We're not to do this. And we must understand this, and the only way for this to happen is we must first understand who we are as a people. We must know who we are, and we must know where we are. And most importantly, we must know why we are here. What has got us placed into these positions, into these nations, and why are we at the bottom of the barrel? So this class is pretty much going to address those issues on why we are in the situation we're in, why we continue to try to appease these people, go to their schools, get their education, walk like them, talk like them. Some of us has even lost our minds and have been married onto them. These things we're not to do. And it is to be a thorn in our sides to follow the ways of the heathens. We're not to do this. Anyway, let's get straight to the lesson. I will title this one, Ye Rebels, because the ones that are actually going to be, we're seeing this affliction because of our rebellion. So I will title this lesson once again as Ye Rebels. Let's get started. Let's open up the books and let's go straight to 1 Samuel. And we're going to start with chapter 8. And we're going to read verse 4 through 8. Okay. Once again, 1 Samuel chapter 8. And we will start off by reading verse 4 through 8 so we can get a clear understanding of who we are and what it is we're doing that's causing us to be in this predicament. All right. And verse 4 of 1 Samuel chapter 8 reads, Then all of the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel unto Ramah, and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like the rest of the nations. Okay, so what's happening here? Samuel is old at this time, and the house of Israel, the elders of Israel, wanted a king to be placed over them. All right. Verse 6. But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto Yah. And Yah said unto Samuel, Hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee. For they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. So, this is our first error as a nation, when we chose to reject the Most High and we chose to become as the other nations that's been around us. We wanted to have a king like they've got a king. And so our king was Yah, and we rejected him because we wanted to be like the other nations. So what we have done, we have taken on the ways of these other nations, their ways and their customs, and we also started to follow their gods, i.e. their idols. These things are egregious sins, and thus we are in this predicament, and I will continue to go through many verses in this lesson to let you see exactly, so we can put the picture together as in why we are suffering, why we're being killed, etc., etc. This is pretty much judgment that's being brought upon the house of Israel. All right, let's go to Samuel. We'll go to chapter 15, and we will go to verse 23. Give me 1 second. First Samuel chapter 15 and verse 23. And it reads, "For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of Yah, he has also rejected thee from being king." So this is the word being passed from Samuel on to Saul, letting him know that he has been rejected for his rebellion. As you can see, rebellion is a sin similar to witchcraft, which means that's punishable by death. Okay, so we're not to be rebellious. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy 4. Actually, Deuteronomy chapter 9, and we will read verse 24. Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 24. And it reads, "Ye have been rebellious against Yah from the day that I knew you." This is Moses speaking to us in the wilderness, letting us know that we have been rebellious from day one. Okay, Israel seems to want to do whatever they want to do. They will not hearken unto the laws of the Most High, and that has been a stumbling block unto us, and that is why the Most High killed off most of Israel in the wilderness. Okay, he wasn't just killing off anyone and everyone. He was killing off those who were rebellious, that would not hearken unto his law. Okay, so keep those things in mind. All right, that's why those generations were removed. Okay, they will not hearken, would not even consider, would not do the laws of the Most High, so therefore they were killed. Let's go to Numbers chapter 14. Numbers 14. Numbers chapter 14, and we'll read verse 3 and 4. Numbers chapter 14, verse 3 and verse 4. "And wherefore hath Yah brought us unto this land, to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return into Egypt? And they said one to another, Let us make a captain, let us return into Egypt." Now, this speaks of the rebellion of our people. We're in the wilderness. We have been delivered out of captivity. But yet, Israel is in the wilderness, complaining constantly to Moses and Aaron. And so a group of Israelites right here is saying, you brought us all the way here out of the land of Egypt to be killed. We're going to die of starvation. We don't have anything to eat. We don't have any water to drink, etc., etc., etc. They continue to nag. And so they wanted a captain to be placed over them, and they wanted to return to the land of bondage, because they felt as though that situation, being in bondage, which is what they've been familiar with, was better than being free, being in the wilderness, and being under the protection of the Most High. But to be under the protection of the Most High, you must adhere to law. So in Egypt, they did not have to adhere to the Most High's laws. They only had to adhere to Pharaoh's laws. And so I assume that they have felt that Pharaoh's laws were much easier to obey than the laws of the Most High. So captivity was chosen over these individuals rather than being free and being under the protection of the Most High. And we pretty much have that same type of scenario and that mindset here today. As Israel is taken back to the land and these gatherings get ready to occur, there are going to be many Israelites who would rather stay here and deal with this oppression and be under the control of Pharaoh, if you will, rather than return to the land that was given unto them, or that was promised unto them, and to be under the protection of the Most High, and to have to adhere to his law. So that's the mindset that we have, and it's still prevalent today. Let's go to, so Israel was constantly rebelling, as I've said, and they continue to they wanted to go back to Egypt. Okay, now let's go to let's stay in the same chapter 14 of Numbers, and let's go to verse 10. Let's read verse 10 and 12 of Numbers chapter 14. Verse 10 reads, "But all the congregation bade stone them with stones. And the glory of Yah appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Israel. And Yah said unto Moses, How long will this people provoke me? And how long will it be ere they believe me? For all the signs which I have shown among them, I will smite them with the pestilence, and disinherit them, and will make of thee a greater nation, and mightier than they." So we are so rebellious that the Most High actually wanted to just destroy all of us and start anew. But Moses, our intercessor, spoke on our behalf, and the Most High Yah repented from doing this. What is he wanted to pretty much kill us all because of our rebellion. So let it be clear that we're not dealing with Santa Claus. Okay, we're not dealing with JC the idol. Okay, we're dealing with the Most High. Okay, and he's not to be played with, toyed with, or provoked. Okay, so understand that you can't sin 1,000 times and keep going back and doing the same thing, etc., as you're taught in these Christian churches. This is not true. Okay, so kind of keep these things in mind. He is not to be provoked. All right, there are consequences for that. All right, let's go to let's move over to Psalms 147, and we will read 19 and verse 20. Psalms 147 verse 19 and 20. We must understand the reason why we're seeing all these hardships and these killings in these lands is because we are in idolatry. That's number one. Keep in mind, no other nation of people have been given these laws. These laws were given unto us, and we broke them. Therefore, our names were removed, our heritage were removed, and we were scattered into all these lands at the bottom of the barrel. Hardship, oppression, injustice, unfairness, etc., is all that's going to befall us in these many lands. While we're here, we are not to follow the ways of these people. We're not to eat what they eat. We're not to do what they do. We're not to marry unto them. The laws are no different than it was given unto us when we came into the land of Canaan. We were not to mingle with those people. We were not to come into any covenants with them. We were not to give our sons to their daughters, or to give our daughters to their sons. That same rule applies when we're in all the lands of our captivity. Because we are to be gathered once we return to the Most High's laws. You read Deuteronomy 30 carefully. At no time did the Most High say that we have to be baptized. No such thing. Does not exist. He said simply that we must return to his laws. Us and our children. This is in Deuteronomy 30. And then he will return and gather us. Now, if you read Joel 3, he makes clear that he will sift Israel as corn is sifted, or is sifted in the sieve, which means we are to be separated from these people. So if he's to come back and get us once we return to his laws, if we're going to be separate from them, how can we be separate from these nations if we're joined onto them? Does not make any sense. So you can't be married to them. You can't be joined onto them and their ways and their idols and their customs or anything else. We are to separate ourselves from them. Simple as that, because we are a separate people from everyone else on the face of the earth. Now, let's get back to this Psalms 147, 119, and 120. This will make clear that these laws were given only to Israel. These laws were not given to everybody. That's why everyone doesn't suffer like we suffer, because these laws are only given to us. And secondly, these other nations will not understand these laws because we have to teach it to them. And we cannot teach it to them unless we return to these laws. Period. They can't teach us these laws. These laws were never given to them. So let's go ahead and make clear where these laws are only given to Israel. We're in Psalms 147, and we're going to read verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob. Jacob is the name of Israel before his name was changed to Israel. His statutes and his judgment unto Israel. Israel, Jacob, synonymous. Same man. He hath not dealt so with any nation. As for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yah. So these statutes and these judgments were given unto the house of Israel, a bloodline of people. It was not given to everyone. And don't let anyone tell you that. It is right here written in the books of the prophets. Okay, so therefore, that is why we suffer so. Because the laws that were given unto you, you will not follow them. You would rather follow the laws of your enemies and the gods of your enemies. And as you continue to do this, you will be killed. Simple. Now, let's go back to Deuteronomy. Let's go back to Deuteronomy. Nope, let's go to 1 Samuel. Let's go to 1 Samuel. That way we can certainly point out rebellion. 1 Samuel, we will go to chapter 15, verse 23. Chapter 15, verse 23. And we've already read this. We've already read this, but let me reread it anyway. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity, which is sin, in idolatry, worshiping false gods, which is also sin. Because thou hast rejected the word of Yah, he has also rejected thee from being king. So this is Saul rejecting the Most High's commandments. He didn't kill all the Amalekites like he was supposed to. Okay, so we have covered that twice, so you understand this. Let's go to Deuteronomy 11. Deuteronomy 11 and Deuteronomy chapter 11, and we will go to verse 16. Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 16. And it reads, Take heed to yourselves, that your heart be not deceived, and ye turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. So we are in these many lands where we have been held captive. Our names have been removed. Our heritage has been removed. We do not have our own language. We do not make our own laws. We do not have our own currency. We own nothing. And it was meant to be so. Now, our heart is not to be deceived, that we follow after the ways of our enemies and serve their gods, who are all false. These are idols. Okay, so we're to be mindful of this thing, and that is why we're being killed wholesale in these lands and have been for hundreds of years. Okay, now let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Let's go to Ezekiel, and we're going to chapter 16 of Ezekiel. Chapter 16 Ezekiel, and we're looking at verse 24 and 25. All right, once again, Ezekiel chapter 16, and we're at verse 24 and 25. All right, verse 24 reads, That thou hast also built unto thee an eminent place, and hast made thee a high place in every street. Thou hast built the high place at every head of the way, and has made thy beauty to be abhorred, to be hated, and has opened thy feet to everyone that passes by, and multiplied thy whoredoms. So the Most High is speaking to the house of the house of Israel, letting us know that we have built these eminent places, these high places on every street, and we have become whores. We're whoring after the gods or the idols of the many nations in which we have been scattered. So this applies to us today. Look in your areas where you live. Okay? Israelites, quote unquote, black people, as you like to call yourselves, we have churches on every block. Eminent high places, just like in the days of old, because we are rebellious and we are serving this idol in these nations. And like I have said before, you have to consider this. The Most High have had two houses built. One Solomon built, and the second one was built by Zerubbabel. The third house, the latter house, will be greater than the previous two. Those two houses were built on the same spot, Mount Moriah, the Temple Mount today. The third house will be built also on that very same spot. So therefore, the Most High have never had 35 houses in your city, 55 in Delaware, 1,500 in New York, 5,000 in Russia, 10,000 in Indonesia, 6 in Saudi Arabia, okay, 1,500 in Germany, 3,500 in Ecuador, and 5,000 in Brazil. And he never said he had one in the Vatican. He never said he had one called the Vatican. Never said he had a bishop. Never said his priest couldn't marry or anything of the sort. So you have to consider there's probably 1,000,000 houses of quote unquote a God around the earth. But none of them are the house of this God right here in this book. Because he's saying that there's only two houses that were built onto him. They were both destroyed. And the third one will be greater. It will be built on the same spot as the previous two. So therefore, what you're going to on Sunday mornings and Wednesdays and any other day, you're paying homage to an idol. And you will be made ashamed for this thing. So you need to keep that in mind, okay? We are worshiping idols, and it ought not to be done. And that is why your sons and your daughters are being killed. Now let's stay in Ezekiel. Staying Ezekiel, we'll jump down to Ezekiel 31. Ezekiel 31. Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 31. If you read all of Ezekiel chapter 16, it makes plain how we have broken wedlock by actually going a whoring after these idols of these many nations. So you can read the whole chapter 16 of Ezekiel. I'm just putting some verses out to kind of put the point and make it plain to you. Okay? 31, verse 31 of Ezekiel 16 reads, in that thou buildest thine eminent place in the head of every way, and makest thine high place in every street, and has been as a harlot, in thou scornest hire. Okay, so the Most High is saying that we are pretty much are like whores. You know, a whore does not care who she lays down with, who she lies down with. That becomes irrelevant. So therefore, that's how we have become. We are not considering exactly who we are worshiping and who we're paying homage to. And hence we're in this condition because of our whoredoms. So we must pay attention to this book. Okay. Now let's go to Ezekiel. So we're going to stay in Ezekiel 16, but we're going to go to let's look at verse 17 of Ezekiel 16. All right. Verse 17 of Ezekiel 16 reads, thou hast also taken thy fair jewels of my gold and of my silver, which I have given thee, and madest to thyself of men makest to thyself images of men, and didst commit whoredoms with them. So what we've done is our gold and our silver, we've made images of men. Some man on a cross strung out. And we have these things on our necks in our houses. Some of you have lost your minds and printed it on your skin. If you understand that you're Israel, you know that you're not to have tattoos. There should be no printing upon your skin at all. But if you've never read the law and understood it, and also understand that you're Israel, then this wouldn't make any sense to you. Okay? So we are not to be wearing images of men, images of idols. We're not to be doing this. So if you have these things in your houses, or you have them on your person, you're to rid yourself of them. Israel is referred to as an adulterous woman. Okay, a woman who pretty much cannot be trusted. Okay, and is a harlot, and that is referred to in Ezekiel 16, the same chapter. That can be referred to in verse 32. Verse 32 of Ezekiel 16. But as a wife that committeth adultery, which taketh strangers instead of her husband. Okay, that is pretty much what we have done to the Most High. Okay, we have actually taken strangers. Okay, we have taken strange gods and strange customs instead of taking the God that belongs to us, our God, the Most High Yah, and his custom, his laws. Okay, just like in the days of Saul, we rejected the Most High so we can go be like other people. We can have kings like they have. We can follow their ways and their customs. And we're seeing that same spirit in our people today. Our women are not comfortable with the way they look. They want to look like the European woman. Our men are not comfortable with our women. They want to go to get someone else, and vice versa. Okay, so this same spirit, we're trying to be like other nations. We're trying to fit in. We've tried to desegregate. We want to get into this man's schools, get into his churches. You want to marry his daughters. You want to go to his, everything you want to do. You want to be a part of what he's doing. Same exact spirit you will find in the book of Samuel. We're trying to be like these other nations. The gods of all of these nations are idols. All of them. So we have actually rejected the one and true God. And now we're listening to people that's telling us that God is three people. He's a Trinity. And he has some son named Jesus that you can't find out of the book of the prophets. You can't find a word. You can't find Jesus or Christ. You look from Genesis to Malachi, the books of the prophets, and you can't find Jesus, Christ, Jesus, upside down, backwards or sideways. No prophet ever spoke of him. And the Most High made plain in Amos 3 verse 7 that he does nothing unless he reveals it to his prophets first. So no prophet spoke of a Jesus anywhere at all. So you need to go ahead and put this idol away. Okay, so we have actually sold ourselves for naught and have actually taken hold of things that are vanity, that are lies, that's of worthlessness. It's of no avail to us. So we need to go ahead and put those things away. All right, let's go to Ezekiel 16. We're still in 16. Let's finish up, get out of this chapter. Let's go to Ezekiel 16 verse 59. And verse 59 reads in Ezekiel 16, for thus saith Yah, I will even deal with thee as thou hast done, which hast despised the oath in breaking the covenant. So we have an everlasting covenant with the Most High. This was made in the wilderness. Okay, we made a promise that whatever the Most High told Moses, that we would do it. That's our end of the bargain. And we know, based on the Most High's testimony, if we didn't do the things that he commanded, he made plain what he will do to us. Read Deuteronomy 28 chapter, the entire chapter. That way you know why your sons are being shot in the street, and why your grandfathers were hung, and why their fathers before them were enslaved, and why you still find it difficult today, regardless of your education, regardless of your of being well spoken, well dressed, and affluent. You're still called proverbs and bywords, and you're still treated as scum. Read that carefully so you can understand exactly who you are and where you are. And then you go read Deuteronomy chapter 30 so you know exactly how to get out. And you can't find baptism nowhere in there on how we're to get out of this mess. Okay? Now, we have hated the Most High's covenant. We hated it. We hate the laws. Hence, we are rebellious, and that's why we are in this predicament. All right. Now let's go to Leviticus. Back up to Leviticus, and we'll go to chapter 20 of Leviticus. Leviticus chapter 20. So you understand clearly who you are and why these things are happening to you. Leviticus chapter 20. And we're going to deal with verse 24. Chapter 20 and verse 24. But I have said unto you, ye shall inherit this land, and I will give it unto you to possess it, a land that floweth with milk and honey. I am Yah, your strong one, which have separated you from other people. So, here you are trying to get into this man's schools. You want to ride the bus with him. Okay? You want to be called what he is called. You dress like him. You talk like him. You even have his last name. You have lost sight of who you are. Have no idea who you are. And you weren't supposed to. For 2 days, Most High had turned his back on Israel. So your memories were removed. But he said there will come a time when he would wake us up. This time is now. So you are to be aware of exactly who you are. So there's no need for us to be like other people because we were separated from these people. We are the clay. These nations are the iron. We cannot mix. Period. No matter what you do. Okay, it will never work. And you are to understand that. Most importantly, you are not to hate these nations at all. These people are simply the enforcers of our punishment. That's their job. That's why if you ask the average Klansman why you hate these people, he doesn't have an answer. I don't know. They have no clue. The Most High put a spirit upon them for them to treat us this way. And not just them, the other nations of the earth as well. Because we experience this worldwide. So they are the enforcers of our punishment. So there's no need for us to go to them for justice. You will get none. If you want any justice, you read Deuteronomy 30 and you follow it. You read these laws that's been given only to us and you follow it. There you'll find your justice. Now keep in mind, just as the Most High have done with Nebuchadnezzar, when he brought the Chaldeans against the house of Israel, once these nations who have been brought against Israel have judged us and our judgment is up, he now turns and judges the nation that judges us. So therefore, the nations that have judged us to this point, they need to be mindful that the cup that we have drank out of, the cup of fury, okay, that they're about to drink it too. And I've already started to. So all that we have experienced, it's coming on them next. All that we have experienced, the nations that have done all these things to us, it's about to be done to them. So we have no need to join ourselves onto them. It is best that you separate yourself from them because we were separated from them from the onset. So there's no need for you to try to be part of anything with these people. And I'm trying to make this as plain as possible. Okay, you cry and hug with them all day long. The Most High said clearly he has separated us from these people, from everyone else. So why continue to try to join onto them? It is a thorn in your side. All right. Now, let's go down to, we will stay in Leviticus chapter 20, and let's look at 25 and 26. Okay, verse 25 and 26 of Leviticus chapter 20. Verse 25 reads, Ye shall therefore put differences between clean beast and unclean beast. Okay, and between unclean fowls and clean. And ye shall not make your souls abominable by beast. Now, you should not make your soul abominable by beast, or by fowl, or by any manner of living thing that creepeth on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean. Okay, let's address that. Israel hates these commandments. The Most High said it. We are rebellious in nature. So this is the Most High's counsel. We are to make a difference between the clean and the unclean. We are not to eat things that he has separated as unclean. We're not to do it because it's abominable and you corrupt your soul. Your soul is your body. Okay? So you're not to do that. That's why when you eat the shrimp, the lobster, the crab legs, the scallops, the catfish, etc., you get sick. Your blood pressure is out the door. Okay, your cholesterol is crazy. You're overweight. Can't function properly. The body can't function because you were giving a dietary law. Look at Leviticus chapter 11. Read it. And that tells you what you can and what you can't eat. Now, when the Most High gives his laws, his counsel stands. Like he said clearly, we are going to see whose counsel is going to stand. His counsel or anyone else. So how come you would let Paul and whomever else is in the back tell you something different when the Most High makes clear here to you, Israel, that you are to make a difference between what is clean and what is unclean, what is holy and what's profane. You don't have the ability or the authority to eat anything you want. You were given laws. These other nations, they can eat what they want. They can eat what they want. They never got these laws. They are not the people of the Most High. You are. And this is why you're getting cracked over your head every day in all the nations of the earth. Because you refuse to listen to this. You listen to Paul and who else, Luke and John and all this. These are not prophets. From Matthew chapter 1, it's a lie. You've got to understand that the Most High had Israel turned their backs on the Most High's laws. And the Most High turned his back on Israel. We were made deaf and blind for 2 days, which is the sum of 2,000 years. And in the third 1,000 years, in the third day, he was going to raise us up. And I'm going to read all of that. And we're going to be aware of who we are. So we're not to eat what we can. The Most High said clearly he does not change. He doesn't tell you his son is Israel in Exodus 4:22, and then you go in some other book and his son named Jesus. He does not change. It doesn't work that way. He doesn't tell you here's a dietary law in Leviticus chapter 11. These are the things you're not to eat, Israel. And these are the things you can eat. And then you go in the back of the book, some dude telling you can eat what you want. You just got to pray over it. These men are not prophets at all. The prophets were already removed out of the house of Israel. Israel was scattered during this time. They didn't even know who they were. And most of us still don't. So you need not listen to any of that, because those are not prophets at all. at all. And if you study the law, you would know this. These laws are perpetual. They do not change at all. So get this everybody concept out your mind. The Most High don't know everybody. He only knows Israel. Most High doesn't love everybody. He only knows Israel. And of Israel, he loves those of the house of Israel who follows his laws. The ones that don't and reject it, you get killed like anyone else from any other nation. Secondly, those of you who are of the other nations, who will hear this word, who will adhere to it and return to this law, you will be as accepted as anyone else. You can't be an Israelite. That is by bloodline. But you can save your soul, i.e. yourself and your seed, if you return to this law. So that's except, if you're a Canaanite, no. Ammonite, no. Moabite, no. Amalekite, no. Those seeds are going to be removed. You're going to be killed off the earth. Okay, but anyone other than those people, okay, you can be saved, and you will not be allowed into the congregation of the Most High till the third generation. Okay, because you all have to pay for what you've done to the house of Israel. It's pretty much as simple as that. Okay, so understand that if you are of another nation, you too can be saved, but you will also have to return to this law as well. Okay, so you're not excluded from this. All right, but you will have to return to this law. And as we, Israel, we have been servants to you in all these lands for all these centuries. Should you decide to return to this law and follow the Most High, this is to the other nations, you will be in service to us. We have been in your servitude for centuries as our punishment. And so therefore what will happen is you will be serving the house of Israel, and that's forever. Read Joel 3. And you can also read Isaiah chapter 14. There's going to be a role reversal. But we can't kill you and feed your babies to alligators or anything like that. It will be all done in righteousness. Okay? So you will be as one of us, but you will be in service to us, if that makes any sense. All right? So all is not lost for the people of the other nations. All right? And all of this, like I said, you can read this in Isaiah chapter 14. That way you can see where things will be changed around. Okay, but all the other nations have to do is return to this law and follow it, just like Israel is commanded to do. All right. Let's go to verse 26 of Leviticus 20. I'm trying to give you some common sense explanation of what I'm reading, because some people can read these verses, can go through these chapters, and will not grasp anything from it because they really haven't returned to the laws just yet. So the Most High really hasn't illuminated them fully. A lot of people, if you just speak in common sense, everyday language, they can grasp things a bit better if their heart is right and they intend to seek the Most High. So I'm trying to read this, but yet understand this in a common sense, everyday type language, speaking to you so you can better grasp it. And I hope it helps. Once again, we're in Leviticus. Let's stay with chapter 20. Let's go to verse 26. And ye shall be holy unto me, for I am Yah, and I am holy. Okay? For I, the Lord, am holy, or I am Yah, I'm holy. And have severed you from other people, that ye should be mine. Once again, we've read in 3 places where the Most High makes plain that he has severed Israel to be his, severed from other people. We are separated from other people to be his. The nation of Israel is to be a nation of priests. That's who we are. We have to teach these nations. That is our job. We have been separated from them to be the Most High's. Personally, we're his people. That's it. So why is it? Well, I don't understand why, but I want you to understand that you should not be trying to be like these people. Stop extending your hair. Stop trying to dress and look like them. Stop trying to bleach blonde your hair and bleach blonde your skin and things like that. We are the Most High's people. We were separated from everyone else. Why are you going back to what you've been separated from? As we were rescued out of Egypt, a bunch of Israelites wanted to get together and go back into captivity because they felt that was better than being under the protection and the laws of the Most High. That is rebellion. That's what that is. Okay, so don't do it. That's what I'm trying to say. Stop trying to be like these people. Cut out the celebration of the birthdays and the old stupid Christmas. Show me Christmas in here. Show me where any prophet ever celebrated a Christmas. Show me that. Somebody please. These things don't exist. This Jesus figure is the same as Tammuz. It's the same as ISIS. It's all idolatry. All of it is. You have to study these things. Okay? So remove yourself from the ways of these heathens. We were not to follow them at all. We were severed to be the Most High. We are separate from everyone else. We are special above all people on the face of this earth. So says the Most High himself. So what are you trying to be like other people for? It's only going to get you killed. It's a thorn in your side. Keep that in mind. All right, let's go to Amos 3. We're going to go to Amos 3 verse 1. That way the Most High can let you know exactly how special you are to him. Amos 3 verse 1. And let me put this on pause. We'll do this. We'll have a second half of this in a second.